Hello and welcome. My name is Eric and my channel's content mainly consists of the popular MMORPG Runescape. I have tried a handful of MMOs over the years, but I never really gave some of them a proper chance, including Black Desert Online. Black Desert Online is a buy-to-play MMORPG developed by Pearl Abyss that was published back in 2015. The first time I tried Black Desert Online was back in 2016, but I was put off very quickly by confusing game mechanics and the fact that you couldn't trade one-on-one with your friends. However, this time I gave the game a little more time, and in this video I'm going to give you guys my first impressions of the game in 2020, so when you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So the last time I played the game was a long time ago. Since then, a lot of classes have been added, and when I first started up the game initially through Steam, I was surprised to see 20 different classes to choose from. Though I believe for 3 or 4 classes like the Archer and Ranger, the male counterpart is basically the same class, but I could be wrong. Now the cool thing about Black Desert is you can see the combat and the abilities and how the class looks like and plays in the right bottom corner of your screen. I also couldn't help but notice that this is definitely a Korean MMO. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad as the character creation in Terra, which was basically stripper-looking characters humping their gun in the air, which led me to playing one of the cutest characters I've ever played in a video game, this cat. He has seen some shit. I went a little off topic there, but Black Desert Online's character creation screen in all seriousness is absolutely fantastic, and I don't think any game or any MMORPG can actually rival it. It's so detailed, I literally needed to look up a guide to make my character, and I was using the basic preset for the face. Take that in for a second, I didn't even start playing yet, and I needed a guide. That's insane. Now, while I couldn't play with those questionable characters in Terra, I definitely wasn't going to leave my chance to create the ultimate waifu in Black Desert Online. You see, if I get demonetized, I could always fall back on creating an OnlyFans with these characters in Black Desert Online. That's how realistic they look. In all seriousness though, I just wanted to play as a sorceress again, just like I did in 2016. Because I find the combat rather appealing, even though some of the other classes like the Guardian or Warrior really interested me as well, but I tried those later. So, you start the game off and you have this Black Spirit, which is basically your quest guide or your quest NPC you can call upon whenever you want as long as you're not in combat. Now the first few quests teach you a little bit about the basic functions and controls of the game, for example that WASD are used for movement, like you didn't already know. Not long after that you get your first cutscene, and I'm gonna be honest, it does look pretty good, and I appreciate cutscenes in games, especially if it's a single player game. This is of course an MMO, but still I do like cutscenes that are voice acted, and the voice acting is actually surprisingly decent. That being said, for the NPCs around the world, I cannot say the same because they usually have one line they mention and then they don't say anything anymore. But for an MMO that is translated to English, I don't necessarily mind. Any extra effort is good. I mean, a lot of the older things in RuneScape aren't voice acted either, so I can't really complain here. Now, one of Black Desert Online's strong points is hands down the visuals. They are absolutely stunning. This is one of the best, if not the best looking MMO out there I've ever played. That's without remastered mode turned on at 2K, by the way, because if you turn that on, the game will look even better. Though performance does of course drop, and for the general video I just stuck to very high settings in the standard edition. The reason I came back to Black Desert Online is because of the combat. The effects are gorgeous, hits feel heavy and satisfying, and the combat system can get very advanced with combos and keybinds. This is something I miss in some other games. The combat feels very smooth and responsive and just polished straight from the get-go as a new player. One thing I didn't like, however, is that all the abilities, I'm talking about the sorcerer specifically here, felt very samey and felt like there was almost no visual progression. Now you might argue saying, yeah, you just have to play 100 hours and then the combat will be significantly different, and yes, I can see that on YouTube videos, but I can't help but notice that the effects are still very purpley blacky, and all fit the same theme. I looked inside the skill window and most things looked very similar, and I didn't see a real clear difference in what was better to use or not. So I just spammed a lot of things and did a combo here and there, and that's how I played for the first part of the game. I've stated my opinion on lore and MMORPGs in plenty of videos, and thankfully Black Desert Online's focus doesn't seem to be around the story, because the story is just not very interesting, and it didn't take me very long to start spacebarring for everything, though that might be something on my end. To give you an idea of how uninterested I am in lore, I spacebar through pretty much any quest in Runescape, a game known for actual quests, not kill this, kill that, talk to him or her. We have a skill for that in RuneScape called Slayer. So in my opinion, if you're looking for a game that has story and depth to the quests, you go play RuneScape 3, Old School RuneScape, or The Elder Scrolls Online, not Black Desert Online. So why should you play Black Desert Online? Well, first of all, Black Desert Online has a unique workers and nodes system. You can literally create a worker empire of people gathering things all throughout the world through the nodes and storing them in a lodge, and you can make money that way passively. And as a newer player, this has to be the most confusing part of the game. I had no clue what I was doing. The UI in this game is horrendous, and the worker system isn't any better. I watched the official in-game guide for the system, and it was in 480p, and I believe it was outdated because the UI was different, which is very strange. I wish there was an in-game guide that showed you where to go by highlighting certain buttons or areas on your screen. That would have helped me a bunch. Now, this isn't the only confusing part of the game. Another confusing part is buying items from the official marketplace, which by the way is quite advanced and interesting to see, but confusing. So, I had to sell an item to the marketplace, get my 1 million silver from my free gold bars I got during the quests or something, and then I had to deposit that money into a warehouse to then use that money inside the warehouse to buy something of the market. I ended up buying a better weapon, but then the weapon wasn't in my inventory. What I actually needed to do after that is find out where that weapon was. I ended up needing to collect the weapon from my warehouse. Now, this isn't anything unusual in MMORPGs when you buy something of a marketplace. For example, in RuneScape, when you buy something off the Grand Exchange, it's in your Grand Exchange until you collect it, but all of those things are in one single interface. In Black Desert Online, you need to talk to different NPCs, go to your map, go to the marketplace, back and forth, to get that single item. I don't like this system. I really don't. Now, in Black Desert Online, just like RuneScape, you have skills or skilling, and in Black Desert Online, it's known as life skills. Now, apparently, this is very cool by the way, depending on your class, you have various benefits when it comes to gathering using life skills. According to a 270 page, yes, 270 page written guide, your classes matter when gathering certain things or doing certain life skills. Now, it's great to see that there's players that spend weeks, if not months, creating these super in-depth guides which have mini guides or data spreadsheets within. If you're wondering, this one is called Eminence Life Skill Guide, and I'll link it in the description below if you're curious or if you're playing Black Desert Online, because I was just impressed by the amount of information inside. However, I did not try any of the life skills because I wasn't interested in that part of the game, because it's something you do AFK, and it's just not for me. I was interested in the combat. And there's plenty combat to be had, as this is a super grindy game, and walking from one place to another takes quite some time. The world is absolutely gigantic, and it can take you a lot of time to move from one town to another or explore the world, which is something I did with my brother. The reason I did this is because I got a little bored of the questing and I wanted to see what the world had to offer in terms of monster variety, and I was pleasantly surprised. Something I found particularly useful for doing this is in between the world runs, I would just go on my second monitor and do something else while my character started walking towards an area for 5 to 10 minutes. This way I could do something else on the side and see the world without actually having to do anything. In fact, at the beginning of the game, what I would just do is turn on auto pathing, turn off my HUD, and just enjoy the world around me. Also, there are some big boys in this game, and apparently this isn't a world boss. I'm not entirely sure. There must be even bigger monsters then.
I am Groot.
I'm Groot.
So after playing about 11 hours, trying out some different characters, I'm going to be giving you guys my pros and cons of Black Desert Online as a RuneScape player and as a new player to the game. First of all, Black Desert Online is a cheap game to play as it only costs €10, and if you're buying it in a sale on Steam, it will only cost you around €3. Keep in mind, I'm talking about the base version of the game here. Black Desert Online has the best graphics of any MMORPG out there today, and it also has the best character creation screen of any MMO I've ever played. On top of that, the combat is fantastic, though I assume if you're not used to action combat MMORPGs, it might be a little hard to get used to. The skilling and worker system is cool and in depth, just super confusing and hard to get into, but once you get the hang of it, I'm sure it's very fun to manage. The cutscenes are well done and are a nice addition to the quests. The map is absolutely massive, and thanks to auto-pathing, it doesn't feel that annoying to run around the world. However, according to some people on the internet and one friend of mine that plays this game, this does make it feel like a mobile MMORPG, which I kind of can understand. Large-scale PvP is a thing in this game, but it takes a long time to get towards, but I'm going to add it to the pros because if you're getting into this game and you're going to play this game for a long time, you're definitely going to be getting into this game for that reason. Even with the base game, you have this thing called trial characters where you can check out a max level character or a level 60 character and try out all the skills, see how their gear looks, and how their awakening weapon works. Awakening is kind of like an ascension system where you get a weapon and some unique skills, I believe. This allowed me to check out which characters I found the most interesting. I kind of wish that RuneScape had a system like this, allowing you to check out high-level bosses using a high-level character to see if that's something you'd like to work towards. This is very, very important in games that have a long grind, just like RuneScape and Black Desert Online. So I like this feature a lot, especially because it isn't behind a paywall. Something else I found particularly surprising is that you have sea battles in this game, using your boat with cannons to fire on some kind of aquatic world boss, or aquatic creatures in general. In Black Desert Online you also have player housing, which is always a plus, and you also get a free starter mount not too long after starting playing, and free pets after completing a quest line. These pets apparently collect loot for you, so that's always a plus since these are also premium things you can buy in their Pearl shop. As for cons, this has to be hands down the most confusing MMORPG I've ever played. I had to look up a guide for pretty much anything I was doing. This is not new player friendly, and they should really work on their new player experience and showing how the game should be played or how things work by highlighting buttons in your UI. Black Desert Online is also incredibly grindy, and there's nothing you can do about it because what I've seen and what I've heard is that levels 1 to 56 or to 60 is basically the tutorial of the game. And that really put me off playing. After some research, I was really discouraged to keep playing apart from just having fun with some characters and combat, which I'll probably continue doing, because the game is just a grind fest until the high level, and then there's large scale PvP and these world bosses, but not that much PvE content, it's more PvP focused, and apparently to stay relevant in this game you need to either grind a huge amount of silver constantly, or spend a bunch of IRL money, which labels this game pay to win. I mean, you can literally see what bonuses you get by checking out the Pearl shop. Also, something I didn't like which put me off the first time is you can't one-on-one trade with other players. I assume they did this to counter gold farmers and bots, but it's still very annoying that you can't play co-op with one of your friends and give each other silver or items. Also, apparently there's this bug where you can't call your horse. Don't know why that's a thing, really annoying, and it basically made me leave behind my horse and stop caring about it. All in all, I think Black Desert Online is an MMORPG worth checking out because it has a relatively cheap price to entry, with a lot of content to explore after paying that cheap entry price. It may have pay to win or pay to speed up elements, but I think at the core this is a game where you should enjoy the journey rather than the destination. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it interesting. If you did, leave a like down below and maybe even consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.